Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have Jeff Lester of HuntHard Outfitters, and about 2 weeks ago we had done an episode with Jeff just prior to the Arizona archery hunt starting. We were talking about Unit 1 and Unit 27. Jeff was also giving us the rundown in New Mexico. He had just finished his first season over there and was just about to finish or start his second season. We're now recording this on the 26th of September, so there are a few days left in the Arizona archery season, and then the early rifle hunts start here on Friday. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jay.
Right on. Since we last talked, you were expecting good things out of New Mexico and Arizona, both as far as antler growth. How did the season play out? I hear you guys had some weather and quite a bit of wind, made things challenging.
Yeah, so far, Arizona has been pretty spot on. The rut's been pretty solid. Of course, you have your down mornings and down evenings. Other than the wind in Arizona on this side of the state, as well as western New Mexico, we had about 10 or 11 consecutive days of 20 to 30 mile an hour with some 40 mile an hour gusts, and it was prolonged. It was from early morning. Usually you get about an hour in the morning, and then it would start up around 7:30, 8 o'clock, the wind, and it wouldn't die down till dark. And it was. Was it
the type of wind that, Jeff? Was it the type of wind that you just, couldn't hear bugles, and it was very hard to find bulls, or was it a matter of it was so windy that they just stayed down and weren't doing their normal pattern?
No, they were still getting up and moving around. It was a warm wind. It wasn't like a cold weather wind where you get that real frigid or anything. And we didn't get any rain in archery season. I think we had one storm in the 3 weeks of New Mexico, which is really rare. You always get some good weather. I had my rain gear in my pack the whole time, and there was one day when I was backpacked into the Gila that I left it at camp, and it rained on me that day. And wow. Every other day I had it with me, and it was hot and warm, and then the wind. I've never seen the wind be prolonged like that. Like, you might get a windy day, but this was almost like springtime winds. It just real constant hard wind. So we found ourselves, for myself, where I was guiding, and I was guiding in a really arid unit on the second hunt, and we were hunting a really big bull that we were trying to get killed, and it was hard to locate him because he wouldn't talk that much. And then I figured out when I got up high and started glassing for him, almost like I was late hunting him, and I found him, and a number of times I would be within 200 or 300 yards of the bull, glassing him, and I'd see him lay his head back and bugle, and I'd never hear him. Or it would just be such a faint whistle that, if I wouldn't have known where he was, I wouldn't even know which direction to approach him, And, all the guides had guys over in 16B, and then 16A and different units across the state in the Gila, and they all really, said it was just really, really bad windy conditions. So it made it for a pretty challenging hunt, when you got guys and you're trophy hunting and you're singling out a specific bull, and then you stack some of that, those conditions on top of that. It makes for a pretty difficult hunt. We killed 50%, basically. We killed 4 for 8. In the New Mexico archery season.
Did you?
Isn't fabulous for what we typically do, but of course we were hunting. We had guys that were looking for that really upper class, age class bull, and we passed a lot of bulls. Everybody it was 100% shooting opportunities. Everybody had numerous shots. And it just. A lot of times when you're bow hunting, there's the stars have to align. There's a lot of things that have to happen, and everybody has to connect. But across the board, I've heard of some really, really good bulls being killed. but not a lot of them. I think that it was kill ratio was probably really off in New Mexico compared to normal. A lot of the bulls, I know a couple outfitters that did really well on water, killed a lot of bulls on water. And, other than that, I mean, it was definitely not the rut action. It picked up we did a 10-day hunt. It picked up in the second 5 days. It picked up pretty heavy. A lot of people went home because it was so tough. And as that pressure left, I really saw the rut action pick up in those last 4 days.
Speaking about New Mexico, I'm sure you also had some missed shots as well. But speaking about New Mexico, with not only your operation but other outfitters and people saying a pretty tough season, how does that play into the next hunts coming up? I believe there's some muzzleloader hunts and some early rifle hunts. Yeah, so we start
in New Mexico. You have your first season is mobility impaired as well as youth. The youth hunts that come up on the first. Basically I'll start on the 7th this year, and then you'll have your 2 days off, and then another hunt follows up, and there's 3 hunts right in a row. So start on the 7th, 5-day hunt. 2 days off, another 5-day hunt, and then the same for the last week of October. And I'm expecting it to be a really good season because I just know, we were hunting some really solid bulls. Horn growth looks awesome. There's some really solid bulls in a lot of the units we're hunting. So I'm expecting that in gun season we're going to be able to pay them back a little bit. But it was the bulls. There's nothing wrong with it. The horn growth is excellent this year in both states. We did have a lot of misses. Like I said, we had 100% shooting opportunity, and not to say that it's just archery hunting. You try to keep clients on the upbeat side of a miss. Everybody gets down on themselves. We know I have a friend who does another, runs a little bit of another outfit, and one of his hunters, the guy he was guiding, had 6 shots, and 7 shots, and didn't connect, and we're talking like under 50 yards, and trying to keep people in that upbeat, positive, go forward. I know my hunter missed a pretty solid opportunity, a really nice 7x7. And he kind of, he was really, I said, you always play the missed shot over in your head numerous times. And I said, and you will, especially if it's a big bull. But I said, it's part of archery hunting, and the best thing you can do is shrug it off. You know as well as I do, Jay, that it's not easy to do. If you're a bow hunter, you're going to miss. And it's a fact of life, and I tell hunters a lot, sometimes it's better to shoot and miss than not shoot at all. I've had guys freeze up and they don't get the arrow, out of the bow, and you got to get, so it's part of it. And it's, as a guide and an outfitter, I always say that I take 1,000 elk encounters in the woods that I've had and 100 plus bow hunts I've been on, because I used to guide, almost 4 hunts a year archery elk, and I've done that for 20 years. Back when we used to have the 3 seasons in New Mexico, and then of course Arizona and stuff. And when you try to force feed somebody that's coming on their first or second elk hunt, because it's hard to draw the tags. So we're trying to force feed all this knowledge, wealth of information that we've taken all over the years, and we try to cram it into somebody that's on their first or their second elk hunt. How to move, where to set, how to draw when a bull comes in, when to draw, what you can get away with, what you can't get away with. And you try to force feed this to someone, and we look at it like, oh, this is easy. But you know as well as I do, Jay, as much archery hunting elk as you've done, that is knowledge that you have learned in the field over years of archery elk hunting.
For sure.
And
practical knowledge that you have to learn by doing it. You can only hear about it so much, but you actually have to do it.
Yes, you have to do it. And we try to do our best at getting everybody prepared for that. and it can be, it can be discouraging. We had some hunters, they got pretty discouraged when they missed shots. But I tell guys, if you're really, really serious about killing big bulls and you can afford it, and you have the points and you can draw these different states, you should be hunting multiple states. You should be trying to go on maybe an archery elk hunt every year or every other year, because the more and more that you're in the woods and you're having those interactions with those elk, you will learn all this stuff. And even as many hunts as I've been on and as many bulls as I've taken personally with a bow and different things, I learn something every time I'm in the field. And it's good that people don't get down on themselves if they don't kill. It's not about the kill. You got to be really concerned about the experience of the hunt and everything. Obviously, you guys just came back from looked like a pretty action-packed hunt in Montana. And,
yep.
You have those experiences, and it doesn't always get put together. Somebody you hunted with, Brendan Burns, he had a tag down here in one of these units 2 years ago, and he was hunting a really big bull that we knew about, and he actually got an arrow in that bull, and that bull was later taken in the trophy hunt, in the rifle hunt. But, I had talked to him about, how he was having a kind of a tough time, and Brendan's an excellent hunter. And but you get in those places where the elk in Arizona, the elk in New Mexico, the elk in Nevada, the elk are a little different in every place. They do a little bit different stuff. They get bigger herds. They get more cows. Some don't. Just a different. So, of all the different places I've hunted, there's so much to know about it.
For sure, that's really good advice. So you think with archery success across the board probably being a little bit down, it will play well for those that have the firearms permits. Looking at Arizona in units 1 and 27, how has the archery hunt been there, and then what is your forecast for the early rifle in 1 and 27? And I'm not sure if one's a muzzleloader this year or not, but basically the firearms season that starts here on Friday, what are you expecting? Are bulls broken up, or are they held together pretty good? Like, what's your outlook?
I haven't actually seen any broken bulls yet. Personally, I haven't seen I shouldn't say that. I saw a third busted off one bull in New Mexico. Other than that, everything was intact. Now, in Arizona, I know one of the big bulls that one of our guides and client was hunting, he fought another bull, and they watched him fight, and he broke like 3 times off in that fight.
Wow.
So they watched him get broken up pretty hard. Our Arizona guys killed out fairly quick. They shot good bulls, not great bulls. They were, from the East Coast, and they just said, we want solid 6x6s, and the first 6x they had, they smoked. And, we try to push them to some guys, to trophy hunt, but at the end of the day, if the client's happy, we're happy. Of course, we like to try to hunt that upper age class, but, at the end of the day, I have a smile on my face if I have a happy client. So it's hard. And if it's someone's first elk or even their second elk, the trophy is in the eye of the beholder. I can remember 2 of my most memorable deer hunts when I was a kid, or even now, all the way back, they were not trophies by any means. And one of my most memorable archery elk kills was not a trophy by any means. It was a 300-inch bull. And so, I think as a whole, we've gotten pretty trophy-oriented, and we put a lot of emphasis on that. And, at the end of the day, everybody is not interested in that. And, having just a good, solid hunt is important to a lot of people as well. So your successes have to be measured in some different ways sometimes when it's according to, what you came to do,
Absolutely, for sure. That's a good outlook on it. Do you think the success in Unit 27 and Unit 1, have you heard of a bunch of big bulls being killed, or have you heard it being just an average season across the board?
Very few. I did hear of a 390 bull being killed, and I'm not sure what unit was in. I heard. I haven't seen any pictures. I mean, and I could be totally talking out, my ear right now. I don't even know if that's true, or we just heard there was a really solid bull that was killed. We've been hunting a really, really good bull and haven't been able to put it together on him. But other than that, friends and family and people, locals that have tags, been pretty tough. I mean, there's been a number of really, solid bulls killed, the 330 to 350 bulls, but I haven't heard of any really, really big giants being shot. Which there's a couple days left and stuff. Like I said, I mean, I don't hunt the first part of over here in Arizona. I was in New Mexico, but now that I'm back, I'm helping and trying to get. We only have one guy left, and we're trying to, get this bull killed if we can. And the trophy hunts that follow these archery elk hunts, I think will be pretty good. I mean, I've seen some really good vocalization since I've been back over in Arizona. I mean, I mean, these timber units, these higher units, elevations seem that you see a lot higher rut. But, I mean, just here in the last 2 hours, I'm getting ready to go out this evening, and I've noticed the wind's already starting to really pick up. So I don't know the wind. At first I thought, was it the hurricanes, because we've had all this really off weather, down in the Gulf and all this stuff. And then I thought, is that kicking some of this stuff up out? Or, there's been some, all this really turbulent weather. Now, watching your guys' posts on Instagram and different things, and obviously the north is getting, I've seen all these early snow pictures of people, bulls rutting, and it's snowing, and I see Colorado, and I see Idaho, and people have these dead bucks in the early muzzleloader hunts up in Utah, and the boulders got snow on it, the beavers got snow on it, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, wow, so everybody's getting kind of a little winter blast up there, and we're down here baking at 85 degrees,
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing. I'm in Jackson, Wyoming right now, and spent 6 days up there in north of Bozeman, Montana, and we had snow on the ground, had blowing wind, had definitely something that this Arizona desert rat isn't really used to. I know you living over in eastern Arizona, you're used to it, but it was a little bit of a shocker for me. But we had really good bugling, and here in Wyoming, where I'm at, it's real close to the Teton National Park, and the elk have been really, really bugling. I actually just, as we're sitting here talking, have about a herd of 18 cows and a bull that have been kind of wandering around the neighborhood, and he's raking trees. I'm looking at him right now, about 70 yards out my window. But yeah, it's from what I've heard in Arizona, I haven't heard of any real giants. I did hear of a 417 bull, that flared out bull that spent so much time in Unit 9 that was like 50 inches wide.
Right.
Big bull. Did get killed. I'd never heard if it was 9 or 7 or where that bull ended up getting killed, but I saw a picture of it. And I haven't heard of anything really big. A couple nice bulls out of Unit 10, 370, 380 type bulls. But yeah, so it's.
I have a buddy that's hunting up north right now, and he said the rut's been pretty slow up north where they're at, and I believe he's hunting 10, and he said they're glassing a lot of the bulls they're hunting.
There too.
Right. Well, if it's windy in New Mexico, it's windy in Arizona, because our prevailing winds come from Arizona, and typically, if where we hunt in New Mexico is if it's windy in this country, it's windy all the way up to Flagstaff and everything. So anything that comes up over the Mogollon Rim, you have all that heat that comes out of the desert, and it rises up over the mountain, and when it comes down the other side, I mean, that's where we get our winds, but that's typically more of a spring deal. And usually our falls are just beautiful, like the quake and aspens, you get up there and it's just the leaves are fluttering a little bit and stuff. I mean, this stuff is like, I told people, be careful in the burns, because there's gonna be timber falling. I mean, this has been gusting hard winds, not just breezes. I mean, this is like blowing hard conditions that. And as well as, I mean, it's very hard to hunt in the wind. The wind is, I mean, if you have a bull spotted and located, I actually love it. If you're on a stalk, because it masks so much of your sound. But if you're trying to listen for bulls and you're in thick country, I was hunting pretty lowland country where I didn't have a lot of vantage points, and I really needed elk to talk to really move on elk, and it made it very difficult. But I mean, I had full dust storms, like giant dust storms, where I was at in New Mexico, to where I couldn't even hardly see at times because the dust was so bad, and it was filling all my gear with grit, and it was. I mean, we were finding shelter getting out of the winds in the middle of the day, you know. So
now I understand if anybody's out there listening and they have a Unit 1 early rifle or a Unit 27 rifle tag, that you do have some openings as well. So make sure to get a hold of Jeff if you're still looking for a guide at the last minute. He's got some nice bulls picked out in both of those units. And any last bit of wisdom you'll pass to those early rifle hunters that are, you know, probably heading to camp here today?
Yeah, they're all going to be coming. Usually you get the wave of them that come up on the last few days of the archery hunt. You'll see a lot of people start showing up. Well, they're there to start scouting for the next hunt because it starts the day after. And we had a guy booked for a specific hunt over here, and some other things happened, and he ended up not being able to come. So we have an opening. You know, we'd like to find a Unit 1 trophy hunter. You know, at times you get those a lot more than others, and you know, because there's only 5 non-resident tags in the hunt, and a lot of guys, you know, hunt it on their own, of course. But we have a really good bull located that we've been hunting, and so we're kind of looking for somebody that has that Unit 1 trophy rifle hunt. So, well, actually, I'm trying to say if it's trophy or rifle or muzzleloaders. But
one thing I would say to the guys listening, if you do have an early rifle hunt in Arizona, or you're going to help out on an early rifle hunt, remember that there's still archers in the field. And, you know, those, like Jeff was saying, those last couple days of the archery hunt, I mean, it's getting serious crunch time for those archers. And if you put yourself in their position, the last thing you need is guys traipsing around the woods, blowing calls and blowing out the elk. So try and be courteous to your fellow hunter out there. You know, get up on glassing knobs, look from afar, you know, try to let them finish out their hunt and be courteous to others as you would want them to do to you. And I see it every year, the early rifle guys, and they're, you know, guys helping them. Everybody's excited, and that's great, and to have the energy and all of that. But just remember, there's other guys out there hunting. Try and be courteous, you know, try and let them have their time in the field. They're getting down to the wire, and it's getting intense, and, you know, sometimes that creates situations where, you know, you have controversies and what have you. So try and shy away from that, and you know, help those archers out. You know, if you can glass for them and help them get them killed, and, you know, help them pack bulls out, whatever. I'm a firm believer what goes around comes around. Jeff,
well, that's really good advice, Jay. You know, because you've got to. That courtesy goes a long way, you know, because there'll be a day where you're out on that hunt, and, you know, when you come in there, it's nice. It's okay to go scout and look at the water holes and do what you're doing and get up and glass, but there are people in the woods still, and we have seen a lot of the calling stuff happen this year. I mean, lots of people walking around tooting a lot of calls. And, you know, I always say a call should be like a driver's license. They should make you take a class and all kinds of stuff before
make sure you're qualified.
You have to be qualified to use the call. But no, it's part of the game. But I've always said that. I said, man, they need a license to have a call. But anyway,
call, I like it. Jeff, why don't you give the listeners that haven't heard you on the podcast before, why don't you give them the way that they can get a hold of you? And I highly encourage, if anyone's looking at hunts in New Mexico, both draw and landowner, Jeff has a way of getting a hold of guaranteed tags. If you're looking for an elk hunt, a deer hunt, antelope hunt in New Mexico or Arizona, he works that eastern, 1 and 27 really hard, and that bunch of those Gila units and a bunch of those New Mexico units. Make sure to get a hold of them. Jeff, why don't you tell the listeners how they can do that?
You can find us by going to HuntHard, that's HuntHard.com. So HuntHard.com. We sell gear and apparel as well, and then just go to the outfitter section. That's the best way. You can email us, but the best way, either contact us. We have Facebook, of course, at HuntHard, and our Instagram is HuntHard_gear. And the best way during season or anything is to text me. I mean, when I was in the wilderness, I came out, I had like 11 messages and my phone is full, and I swear every time I get back to my phone, I try to clear it off, but my phone gets full. It won't let you leave a message, so we just say, to text me at, my phone number is 928-245-2668. And, that's the best way to text us during, if you're ever, looking for, information or whatever on a hunt or whatever. That's the best way, of course, to get a hold of us. So
sounds good, buddy. We'll knock them dead on those firearms hunts in New Mexico and Arizona, and we'll probably be chatting at you before the late rifle hunts coming up later in the season. So God bless you, and keep pounding it out there, okay?
Okay, Jay, appreciate it. Thanks, man.
All right, take care.
All right, see ya.